What if everything you think you know about a nation's power is wrong? What if the true engines of prosperity or collapse aren't written in official histories, published in economic reports, or taught in classrooms? What if the real story, the one that determines whether a nation rises to greatness or sinks into ruin, is happening far beneath the surface? Unseen, unrecorded, untaxed, uncontrolled. From the bazaars of ancient empires to the smuggling routes of colonial powers, to the shadow banking systems influencing modern governments, hidden economies, black markets, gray markets, shadow trades, informal networks have shaped history far more than kings, constitutions, or central banks. But why do some nations thrive under these hidden systems while others crumble? And why, throughout history, do leaders always discover this truth only after it is too late? Today, we uncover the untold story of how hidden economies decide the rise and fall of nations, and why the same patterns are emerging again in our world today. Every nation begins with a dream: order, growth, prosperity. But the moment a government tries to control human behavior too tightly, something unexpected happens. An economy splits in two. The first is the official economy, regulated, taxed, monitored. The second is the hidden economy, unregulated, untaxed, and often unstoppable. This split has existed since the very beginning of civilization. In Mesopotamia, priests banned private trade, forcing commerce into secret courtyards and riverbanks. In ancient China, strict state monopolies on salt and iron compelled villagers to produce goods illegally. In Rome, runaway taxation created underground trade networks stretching from Syria to Hispania. Whenever governments tightened their grip, human creativity, survival instinct, and necessity built alternatives. Nations rarely fall because of what happens in the official economy, they fall because they lose control of the hidden one. Rome learned that lesson late. Very late. Here's the paradox: hidden economies don't just emerge in times of collapse. Sometimes, they create greatness. Before Rome began to crumble, its hidden economy actually helped it grow. Merchants smuggled grain during shortages, soldiers traded goods across borders the state couldn't control, and local elites financed roads the government couldn't fund. Unofficial, unregulated, yet essential, this invisible network allowed Rome to expand faster than any bureaucracy could manage. On the Silk Road, official caravans moved silk, spices, and gold, but the real economy connecting Asia, the Middle East, and Europe lived in the shadows. Secret deals in oasis towns, unrecorded bartering, smuggling to avoid empire taxes, underground money lenders financing journeys no kingdom dared insure. This system built the world's first globalized economy, long before modern globalization. The British Empire tried to control trade in its colonies, but smuggling became the lifeblood of North America: illicit rum, untaxed tobacco, secret trade with the French and Spanish. By the 1700s, nearly 80% of the colonial economy was technically illegal. The colonies didn't rebel after becoming economically independent, they rebelled because they already were. The hidden economy built a nation before the official one ever existed. Every hidden economy starts as a survival tool, but eventually it becomes something else, a rival. When it grows larger than the official economy, when the government no longer knows where money flows, when taxes disappear, corruption surges, and the state loses control, collapse begins. Not suddenly, but silently. Rome's downfall didn't start with barbarians, it started with numbers. As taxes became unbearable, wealthy landowners shifted wealth into secret estates, unregistered labor, and private armies. By the time the government realized the scale of this hidden economy, tax revenues had collapsed, the army couldn't be paid, and the empire couldn't maintain its borders. Rome didn't fall to invaders, Rome fell because its hidden economy grew bigger than the empire itself. The Chinese Qing dynasty tried to ban opium, but the underground responded with secret ports, private militias, hidden warehouses, and global smuggling rings. The black market exploded. The state lost control of silver, currency value plummeted, and social order crumbled. By the 1800s, the Qing government was a government only in name. Real power belonged to smugglers, merchants, and shadow brokers. Inside the Soviet Union existed a completely parallel nation: unofficial factories, underground bartering, off-the-record labor, secret marketplaces, hidden food networks. Economists later discovered that the black market was large enough to feed 30 million people. The Soviet government didn't collapse because of ideology alone. It collapsed because the hidden economy became the real economy, operating outside state control. When the hidden economy becomes too big, nations face the same consequences no matter the century, culture, or continent. Officials can't enforce tax laws. Businesses ignore regulations. Citizens depend more on underground systems than government institutions. The state becomes irrelevant. Smugglers, cartels, corrupt elites, and informal networks begin acting like governments, funding communities, providing jobs, maintaining order, building loyalty. In many fallen empires, people trusted the black market more than their leaders. Once money flows outside the official system, currency weakens, inflation surges, infrastructure decays, and investment disappears. This is how powerful nations hollow out from within. Inequality explodes. Elites get richer through corruption. Ordinary people suffer under rising prices and fewer services. Trust in institutions collapses. And when trust collapses, nations follow. Hidden economies are not relics of ancient empires. Today, they are bigger than ever. The global hidden economy is estimated at over $11 trillion. In some nations, up to 60% of economic activity is unrecorded. Around 2 billion people worldwide work in informal labor systems. These numbers are growing, not shrinking. Unregulated lenders, offshore accounts, private credit markets. The shadow banking system now holds more assets than the world's top 30 largest banks combined. If it collapses, governments cannot save it. Cryptocurrency underground markets move billions daily through invisible channels governments cannot trace. Black market labor sustains millions across construction, agriculture, and domestic work. If this labor stopped overnight, some countries would lose 20% of their workforce, half of their small business operations, entire industries. Illicit trade networks, counterfeit goods, digital piracy, smuggling, cybercrime accelerate globalization, and by 2030, may exceed legal trade in some regions. Look closely at patterns emerging today, and the parallels with history are impossible to ignore. Rising taxes and shrinking compliance echo late Rome. Increasing financial regulation pushes more activity underground, just as ancient empires tightened control. Inflation and currency distrust recall the Qing dynasty. Parallel economies, gig work, informal labor, shadow markets, private lending form like the Soviet Union. Governments react too late, repeating a historical lesson: no nation in history has survived after losing control of its hidden economy. Not one. When hidden economies become too powerful, nations don't just face economic troubles, they face a reordering of society. Power leaves the center. Governments lose influence. Local networks rise. Trust moves horizontally instead of vertically. Official institutions, banks, courts, regulatory bodies rot from within. Entire economic models collapse, slowly, then all at once. The fall of Rome wasn't a single event. The Qing dynasty's collapse wasn't inevitable. The Soviet Union didn't die because of ideology. They all fell for the same reason: they lost track of the true economy while trying to save the official one. And that is exactly the dilemma modern nations face today. Economies follow people, not policies. When survival becomes difficult, people build alternatives with or without official approval. No government can stop the rise of a system people depend on. Transparency is strength, secrecy is decay. Nations fall not because of corruption alone, but because corruption becomes more efficient than law. Hidden economies are not criminal, they are signals. A booming underground economy warns that something official is failing. Ignoring it has destroyed entire civilizations. As the global shadow economy grows, as informal networks strengthen, and as trust in institutions erodes, we may be witnessing the early stages of a transformation humanity has seen many times before, the invisible economy rising, and the official economy struggling to keep up. The last time this happened on a global scale, the world entered a new era. So the real question is not whether hidden economies decide the fate of nations. They always have. The real question is, when the next shift comes, will we recognize it in time? If you found this investigation thought-provoking, comment your thoughts below. Do you think the world is heading toward a new economic era? And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dive documentaries into the forces shaping our world.